Welcome back to episode 5 with today's guest, Charlie.Clarey.
Hi.
Hi, Charlie.
Hi.
So we're looking forward to this episode today. Obviously, everybody knows me by now and you're on my page. So obviously, I'm the passionate pioneer. I'm obsessed with empowering women, empowering lives, especially women's lives, to design a life fueled by passion and purpose. And this podcast is just a springboard for you to get the inspiration, motivation, and empowering information to help you on your journey. So, Charlie, let's read about Charlie's diverse 20-year career path, spanning the film industry, horticulture, and electronics, all in the digital marketing world, culminated in a strategic shift in 2022. No, this wasn't the end. In fact, she strategically closed one chapter and opened a new, more thrilling one. Driven by a desire for efficient marketing solutions, she took a bold step towards entrepreneurship. Her mission? To liberate female leaders in the wellness industry, giving them back their most precious asset, time. Wow. Welcome, Charlie.
Amazing. Sounds brilliant when you say it like that.
Everybody says that. Every time I read their bio, everyone says, "Oh, is that really me? Is that just that sounds
It really is me, but it feels different, doesn't it, when someone says it out loud?"
So that is an interesting that's an interesting bio. So you went from the film industry, which you started in, then you went into horticulture and then electronics, but all in the digital marketing world. Tell us a little bit about that story and your background.
It's a long story, actually. Yeah, 20 odd years. So actually, when I started my marketing career, it wasn't very digital. It was printing cinema leaflets. So when you used to go into the cinema and you go and find out what time is that film on, and there's a whole list of things. That's what I used to do. That was my first marketing job. Which was, not very digital. The people would be like, "God, you just look on your phone." It wasn't like that, believe me. And I used to print something like.
You tell the young people these days that it was all on paper. What do you mean it was on paper? What do you mean you couldn't?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I used to print 80,000 leaflets a week and send them out to like 60 odd cinemas. And and if you got the wrong time of that Lord of the Rings, then the whole cinema would have to throw them away. Yeah, it was madness. It was like, yes, but it was because before that I used to be a cinema manager, so I used to run my own cinema, so I know what it's like when stupid head office would send you the wrong things, and then I went to stupid head office and did it all from the other side. So yeah, massive career change and things. I like to do, I suppose, when you look back and it's like, God, I worked in mad industries that don't seem to relate to each other, that you jump from cinema to horticulture. I mean, I can tell you about compost all day. Did not want to know about compost.
So I love that. I'd love to talk about compost all day because I live on a mountain and I'm a keen gardener, so that's right up my alley. But that's
but this is it. When you market something, you need to know about it. So I needed to know about the 23 different types of compost I was marketing, and I can tell you about ericaceous soils and soils for potting and all these different types. And it's like, you need that detail, because then when you market it, you're like, right, well, why do they need to know? What's the information? So being in your customer's shoes, I really like that side of it. So I've been a cinema manager and I know how to market to cinemas. I love film. Then I went to the electronics industry. I could talk to you all day about fridges and washing machines, because that was and phones as well, smartphones. And it's like, God, the boring stuff, but you need to know this detail, but you need to know it from a perspective of the client. So why is this fridge better than this fridge? Why is that washing machine better than that washing machine? Drum sizes, all this madness, that detail. I love that side of it. And then you kind of spin it into, well, so what? That is the always thing I talk to my clients about. Is like, so what? When you talk about your business, when you market something, why would your audience care? What's the so what factor? Why do I need this washing machine? So what? I need to get more stuff in it. Oh, right, because then I can wash more loads. I've got loads of kids, I can do these things. Like, that's what's important to them. So yes, a mad jump around from careers, but all spanning the marketing kind of umbrella of like, how do you get your message across to the right people when you talk about the right things? And films is different. Phones, it's been brilliant actually.
It's all been marketing, isn't it? It's all marketing. It's just different industries. Which is great. So what initially sparked that passion? So did you always know that you wanted to go into marketing? Was it a dream, or was it kind of like a journey of discovery?
definitely journey of discovery before, definitely not a plan. I think when I spoke to my careers advisor at school, I wanted to be a weather girl or a solicitor. They're the two things, and she was like, how about something, and gave me something else to do. And I think my work experience was in a bank or something. So never the school, I never wanted to do marketing and things like that. Before my cinema career, I used to run a pub. Actually, I was 19 and running a pub. I would not advise it to any 19-year-old now, but I thought I was totally in control and really sophisticated and very grown up. And I was like, oh, geez, no, it was not. But I loved in the pub side of like explaining the right drinks to people at the right times, to the right happy hours and things. And I fell into marketing through that. Actually, I used to make posters and ask, you know, that we had a sign writer that used to come in, and I'd say, oh, can you talk about our happy hour like this? Because I know the women that came in for these kind of sort of events and things, they love these cocktails and they'd like to see that poster. So it was that kind of sparked me off to telling the right story to the right person, because marketing is storytelling. That's what it is. So whether you've got a product or a service or a thing, it's like, tell the story of why this person needs it, and it's easier to sell then, because then it's selling and you lead into that.
It's exactly like you were saying, you know, about with your refrigerators. When you talk about compost all day, I could talk to you about compost. Refrigerators, I can't. But you know, but you tell a story, don't you? It's like, well, what's the difference between this one and this one? Why do you need this one as opposed to this one? And I totally hear you about the careers advisors at school, because we're Gen Xers, aren't we? I mean, you know, and we're British, so that, you know, really school was just, you know, if you made it through alive, you were, you know, doing well.
Necessary evil.
Yeah, exactly. And the careers advisor, really, I mean, they weren't any help worthy. It was just a waste of time. You know, when I speak to young people these days, career advisors are much better. And you know, they really work to match you, and they listen to you and they guide you.
They give you advice, whereas before they put you in a, oh, we've got a, oh, I haven't told anyone to be one of these today, I'll tell them to be one of those.
Exactly. You know, or if you had visions of grandeur, as my mom used to say, oh, you've got visions of grandeur, right? Your visions of grandeur, that's what they say. No, you've got to come down a bit. Well, I'll just do the next thing now. No, come down a bit lower. We'll just do the next, it'll come down a bit lower. And they were always, you know, they tried to sort of pigeonhole you into something that really maybe you hadn't thought of, you weren't sure. I mean, we were 16 when we leave school. They're 18 now, which is much better. But we were 16 at 16. Who the hell has a clue about what they want to do?
I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. I'm just doing this for now. And not in a bad way. Like, this is what I want to try for now. I've tried 20 years in corporate marketing. Now I want to try this. Now I want to try, like, now you realize you've got choice. Whereas before, I think you know, definitely at school, you're pigeonholed into being this. You're going to do this, and you're going to go off and do these kind of qualifications and this kind of path. But now I've realized I was pigeonholed even in my corporate career, of like, oh, well, you do that naturally, then you step up and you do that as the next role, then you're going to be one of these, and then you're going to be head of marketing. And it's like, and I did all those things. And when I look back now, I feel like, kind of from the outside looking in, I worked for massive successful companies, I had great job titles, I earned loads of money, and it's like, okay, that looked good. But the thing that stopped me and why I now do what I do is just I wasn't fulfilled, but I was doing what I thought I should do. And it's like, well, this is boring. And it's like, okay, there's got to be something else to this. And it was, if you'd have asked me 6 months before I started my business, do you want to start your own business? I'd have said no. Didn't know, didn't want to do it at all, never wanted to run my own business. But I just suddenly went, the day-to-day isn't fulfilling me. What's going to fulfill me? And overnight I realized, and then jumped into starting my own business.
Yeah, this is normally, I know I don't want to skim over that bit, because I think that's more important than you're actually saying, because I think that it's normally a breaking point. Something happens for us to really sort of think, okay, you know, for me, I'd already started thinking about it. And, you know, the corporate life, I was the same, you know, as I speak to many women in the corporate world that are now entrepreneurs, you know, that they made that switch. And it's a turning point, but it's more than that. It is a soul calling. It's like you there's something that's missing. There's something that, you know, it's the life you're living is not the life you're living, but the job, maybe the career is soul destroying, let's say.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of your time in the corporate world, right? It sucks up all of your time. And so, you know, it comes to on your most of the women I speak to in their 40s or maybe a little older. and you know, they've come to that junction.
Yeah, mine is
They're
definitely,
just
actually, when I talk about it, it's
unfulfilled.
my business was born out of frustration, and because it happened quickly.
Right.
You know, it's not the long-term path I wanted while I was in the club crib, but out of frustration, and quite quickly I was getting frustrated with working in male-dominated industries, being
Right.
told by idiot men what to do, being not listened to those things. And I didn't realize, and now I look back, and obviously I'm doing lots of talks and things of like, I've always worked in male-dominated industries. I've never thought it was a bad thing. Like the film industry, white middle-aged men, that was all you're going to get. You know, that's all it was. The retail industry, lots of white blokes, like that's it. And I've always worked in really male-dominated industries, and even when I ran my own pub, I was the only woman in the area. There was 13 of us in the area, and I was the only woman. All the other men were running their own pubs. It's not a thing, and I never hated that or got annoyed with it, but it's just now I'm looking back. But it was a turning point in my last career where I just went, I'm so frustrated of not being listened to, and it suddenly hit me quite quickly. But the frustration was like, I'm not doing it. Like, I can't do it. And once I kind of put my mind to it, and my mum will attest to this, that's it. I couldn't just put up with it anymore. And it's like, we put up with it for 20 years, kind of carry on, take the big salary, work in the big company. And I was like, no, I've got to do something about it. And it was like, right, what do I do?
It's not about the money. It's not about the money, is it? It's about something
really
more than the money. It's something that's just soul calling, and it's just like, okay, it's not the money, because if you could just do it, because I did my job with my eyes closed, standing on my head, you know, literally, I was running circles around everybody, as I'm sure you were, Charlie, and but you're undervalued, not appreciated. There's nobody listening to you. They're stealing your ideas, in fact, you know. And the list goes on.
Really frustrating. Yeah. And it is, I mean, God, don't tell my clients this, but I do my job today for free because I love what I do now. And do not say anything. I hope my clients are listening. But I love doing that. Whereas the other job, the payment was the reward, and that was it. And it was like, that's the point, but it's not the money today. I think the frustration really hit me of like, I love the marketing. And actually I joined a women's group in my last company, and we started to make changes and did some things, but it was a lot of like butting heads and trying to change, like move a big tanker of like recognizing women and doing that kind of thing. And I was like, right, I want to do this somewhere else. I want to make a difference with women. I want women to be, the core of what I do. And I love the marketing. So I joined those two things together, and that's how my business was born. But 6-8 months, that was it. It was just suddenly a decision. I was like, right, I'm done. This is what I've got to go and do. And I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. You say about free, but I mean, this podcast, obviously, is just my time, and it's valuable time. My time is precious. Your time is precious. We value that. That's one of the reasons why we left the corporate industry. But I love listening to and providing this space to listen to stories just like yours, and they resonate with me. I mean, I'm listening today because it's all about marketing, right? And I had to learn as an entrepreneur, as any entrepreneurs out there will tell you the same story. When they left, you're leaving a job, a career where you've got the different departments and you can call on somebody to do that, or you've got a tech problem, or you've got a marketing problem, or promotions, or that products, whatever it is. And then when you're on your own, you're like, I've got no one to call. Who do I call? Ghostbusters.
I can't just thunder into IT and say my phone doesn't work anymore, or my laptop's not working. You suddenly have to develop these skills. And I think, that's probably the biggest shock, isn't it, of running your own business? You go from all that support and all those teams of people, and you are all those things. And it's like, and at the start as well, I haven't got money to be paying people to go outsourcing all these things. So you've got to learn all these things. And I love that side of my job of like, one of my favorite things when I started was working out my invoicing platform. I was like, I'm going to test all these, and now my invoices are automated. And I'm so proud of myself for understanding that, teaching myself, setting it up, getting it out and going. It's like, okay, I've learned a new skill. So I did say to someone yesterday, this is the best job I've ever had, but the hardest job I've ever had. Never worked so hard. Like, you work for yourself in such a different way than you do for these corporate blokes that I used to work for. And it really does make you go, actually, if I want to hit this many people or this much revenue or this is my target, I've got to work super hard to do that. And you give that advice to yourself and you go do it. If you don't want to do it and you don't do it, and you know the days you don't want to get out of bed, it's totally up to you. But when you have that self-motivation, it really drives you harder than any salary I've ever had. Definitely.
I mean, the podcast is, it's free, it's my time, but it's soul fulfilling
Yeah.
Right. And then, and from this podcast, you know, I've got women that contact me, some of them for the podcast, some of them to work with me, you know, and so it has a knock-on effect. And if I can inspire, or we can inspire together, inspire and empower just one woman today.
Yeah.
That has a knock-on effect, and then they empower another woman, and so it continues. That's what I love. So the podcast is for the greater good. There's a bigger purpose, right? There's a bigger purpose here for me with this.
But really important as well, because as well, like when I say this, when you leave that corporate world, and you might hate it and stuff like that, but and God, every lead speech, you know, when you all gather around the desk and everyone says they're going to miss, they're never going to miss the company, they're always going to miss the people. And that's the thing I miss the most, is the team and the people and the support. And it's like, right, if I, you know, and even just the coffee and chats when you go and make a coffee in the kitchen, you bump into so and so from finance that you haven't spoke to for ages, and those little kind of relationships, you miss all those little contacts and those little micro moments of, like, you know, just a boost of motivation. So things like this podcast are so important, and networking and meeting groups of people. And I think that's the other thing with definitely running your own business. You've got to get out there and do that. You've got to get out there and make sure you're meeting people, because you can sit, I mean, I'm not in my own home at the moment, I'm in San Francisco, but I normally sit in my office in my garden, and it's just me. And it's like, gosh, you know, as exciting as that is, it's lonely and it's hard, and you've got to, you know, the motivation to go out and talk to people and meet new people and things. I think that's one of the key things of running your business, and running it well, so that you're still being fulfilled and making those connections with people.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's one of the big things for me when I first started this journey. You know, it's networking. And mentors and people that, you know, oh, this person's in the same shoes as I am, right? I'm gonna, well, this person's a little bit further along on their journey. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna go to that workshop. I'm gonna do this challenge. I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna join this group, this Facebook group. I'm going to connect and, you know, with other like-minded entrepreneurs, other like-minded women that are doing the same thing, right? And it's incredible how many women you'll actually find they're doing the same thing as we are.
Yes, and having the same struggles as well. I think that's the other thing as well. I mean, yeah, I love marketing, but I think you've really got to take it with a pinch of salt. You know, the doom scrolling of like, oh, I should be that further on, I should be doing these things. I try and slap my clients and myself out of that thought as well, because, you know, I ban that word, should. You shouldn't. You are exactly where you should be, and you're doing brilliant things. But thinking I should be further on, or I should be doing this, or, oh, she's got it all together, doesn't she look great? Every time I talk to a business or a woman or a thing, it might look from the outside great, it is proper swan-like of like, yeah, we're doing great, but no one has got their shit together.
Nobody's got a bloody clue what they're doing on this planet. Nobody. We're all just putting one foot in front of the other, following our noses, following the breadcrumbs, taking the next action step. But, you know, if you live too much in the past, that's when you live in fear. And if you live too much in the future, you live in fear. If you live too much in other people's lives, again, that's, you know, it is, isn't it? It's the doom scroll. It's and it's rife.
Comparison. It's all those things as well. And this is the thing, like, I've worked for the 4th biggest company in the world. They do not have their shit together. They did not have a marketing plan. They didn't, but they are the 4th biggest company in the world. And you think, oh, they should be doing what they're doing, and it's brilliant. On the inside, it is mad as absolute chaos. No one knew where everything was. And you're like, okay. So it's just like, okay. And when you then amplify that to all these amazing women running businesses, and just because they're on Instagram, they're doing 4 reels a day, or they're doing a load of stories, and you think, oh, look at them posting, they've probably got the stuff together. I can guarantee you not a single woman I work with has. And it's like, yeah, don't worry. The comparison to others, I think, is dangerous. I think the connection with others is the real positive thing. Is when you sit down and go, I haven't got my shit together, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just winging it, and someone else goes, oh, thank God for that, because it looks like you're great, then that's the connection that you need to make, definitely.
Yeah, we're all reading the same book, we're just all on different pages, right? I mean,
love that. Yeah, definitely.
Well, I like the cat thing, the cat analogy, just the cat expression you just used. No one's got what was it, a cat in a bag idea or something. What was it?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. I'll have to watch the podcast back and watch it on replay, because I just love that expression, right? I love it.
Definitely. No one's got their shit together. You just really don't. You're like, no, that's it. And your together is different to my together. and
Yeah.
someone else together is different again. So it's like, even though you might be, I look at other marketing consultants and marketing strategists and go, oh, what's she doing? We're doing something totally different. We've got massive different experience, and we've got different ways of doing things, different ways of working with people. I actually can't compare myself to someone who's doing exactly the same marketing for women running businesses, because we are different. So there's no comparison at all. Totally not.
No, I know. So talk about those role models then, and the mentors that supported you, inspired you on this journey, and how important they were.
It's interesting looking back, because you think, oh, you know, I suppose my best inspiration comes from my worst bosses, because you're like, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like that kind of person. And they're the people that stand out when you think of people. It's like, oh God, I hated working for them and how they made me feel. Definitely in the corporate space of like, right, that's not how I want to be treated, and that's not how I want to work. I thought as well, now I work, you know, 99% with females, all my inspiration would be females, but I've always worked, like I said, in male dominated industries. So it's like, you know, men running businesses, you can see how women in corporate industries are very male like, are very, you know, domineering. And it's like, okay, those women are a bit terrifying in the corporate world. And you, oh, I don't know if I want that to be a role model. And I can see it changing, definitely. You can see, you know, people are being more themselves, or women are definitely being more themselves, but it's hard, you know, you feel like you can't be yourself, and you know, what kind of role models are we expecting to be? So yeah, kind of women that are taking a chance. I think that's the thing as well. But you know, I never thought I'd do any of the things I did, and it's just like, I feel like I've stumbled into things, but I definitely haven't. You know, there has been a bit of a path. Even what I'm doing now, I mean, this is why I'm in San Francisco at the moment. Someone asked me to house swap, and I thought, yeah, okay, you can have my 2-bed flat in Twickenham, and I'll go and sit in your 5-bed bungalow in San Francisco. It's like, take the chance, take the opportunities. You know, they're the women I like to kind of aspire to, of like, or and men, you know, doesn't, not necessarily women, but people that are going out and doing stuff, not the complaining, I wish I could do these things, I wish that would be happen, I wish I had that chance. Is like, make your own chances, do your own things. That's inspiration.
The dangerous comfort zone, that is, Charlie, right? It's that, you know, but because we're quite happy to sit and complain.
Yes.
And I understand that, and I'm not knocking it, because if you want to sit in the shit, as my coach says, sit in the shit. If you want to do that, then that's fine, you do that. But you know, but if you don't, if you really want to move, you know, and make better, you know, make better choices, and feel the happier feels. You know, start networking and find your group of, you know, other women that are passionate, or other men, as you said, you know, find your group, your tribe of support.
And taking action
on your
as well.
journey.
That's the thing as well, taking action, because you know, people go, oh, how are you so motivated, or how are you so confident? Well, I have no idea until I do something. It's the confidence and the motivation comes after the thing. You never go, I'm going to wake up today, I'm going to be motivated, I'm going to hit the gym, I'm going to nail my to-do list, I'm going to get my steps in, I'm going to eat loads of green stuff. No, but actually, once you have I've done a bit of movement today, I have eaten loads of green stuff, a bit, oh, now I feel a bit motivated because I've done it. But the motivation and the confidence comes at the end of taking action. So it's like, just get up and do it. And I know that sounds really easy, but you can't wait for the right time. There's never a right time to start your business. There's never a right time to leave the corporate world. There's never a right time to do that change, whatever it is. Do it and see what happens. And then you'll get inspired or motivated to do the next thing. And then actually, I mean, this move I've done at the minute is making me really think, what else can I do? Where else can I go? How else can I change my stuff? But if I hadn't have done it, I wouldn't have thought. I'd have carried on working. And I still work 9 to 5, and I'm trying to get out of that space of like, I work for myself. Why am I still working 9 to 5?
Yeah, but that's a good thing. That's a good thing, Charlie. I mean, I did the same when I left corporate, you know, as a teacher, and I'm still a teacher. I'm still teaching as I'm running my business, because I haven't fully stepped, you know, I haven't managed to fully step away, but I'm still an entrepreneur. I don't work for anybody. I find my students, I have, you know, so it's still, and I find my clients, it's still a thing. So I suppose the next question would be, what was that biggest leap of faith that you took to pursue your dreams and leave the corporate world?
I think you have your own confidence, but I think it really helps for someone else to remind you how good you are or what you can do or what you're capable of. So I found a coach who was just, and she's amazing actually, and she kind of talks to women who are still in the corporate world but want to build a bit of a side hustle. And I was bored in the corporate world, like we said before, so I just joined one of her courses and went, oh, she's interesting. And it was, culminating with the frustration and everything. And it was then suddenly like, oh, I do want to start my own business. But actually, I then went, well, I can't do that. Of course I can't. And she was like, hold on, tell me what you do again. What have you done for 20 years? What are your good skills
Right,
at? And it was her pulling my skills out, reminding me that I can do something. And you've got to get that outside influence, I think. So that was the big push of like someone else. And it's that validation. I think I knew all these things. And actually, once she started going, hold on, 20 years in marketing in massive companies, you're quite good at what you do. Doing what? Spending how many budgets? Doing how many millions of things? It's like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, I can do this. And that recognition and that validation was a real push of like, okay, well, now there's no stopping me. And actually, I started my business earlier than I was supposed to because I got clients really quickly. And then when I haven't got time for this corporate job, I was going to stay out till the end of the year, and I actually ended it a bit sooner.
that's
And I was
great.
like, I don't want to do it. I got so excited with the work with the women I was working with. I was like, I need to pack this corporate job in because I want to concentrate full time on it. So it was just that having that validation. I think support is the biggest thing you need as an entrepreneur. You do this thing solo, so on your own, but you need that support, definitely.
Yeah, you talked about, it is sometimes it does get lonely, and it is the lone wolf thing, isn't it? Because,
Yeah.
as humans, we're just wired,
Yeah.
to not, especially British people. Oh my goodness me, don't ask for help.
No.
When we saw the Jerry Springer show years ago, we were talking about their problems on TV. We were like, oh God, we were horrified. Don't talk about your problems with other people. Don't do that, especially not on TV. We just don't, we bury our feelings, right?
Yeah.
Everything. And so it's a big, it's a big issue.
A big
It's a big
shift.
challenge to shift. It is to be able to open up and talk to somebody and say, hello,
And
I need help with this.
I also think it's a female thing as well, from a degree, because we're spinning all these plates. What's one more plate? Because I can do this. I can do one more plate. So yeah, start my own business. I'm going to teach myself how to code my website. Start my own business, so I'm going to teach myself marketing. I've started, and you kind of, because you're doing all these plates, it's like, what's one more? And if I say, oh, I can't do that, it feels like a failure, or I feel like I can't run my own business, or people will look at me differently. So it's definitely a female thing. With the clients I work with, it's like, let's stop doing all this busy work. And definitely from a marketing perspective, I always ask, okay, you're doing all this marketing, you're running a podcast, you're sending an email, you're doing loads of social, you're doing speaking, you're networking. What's working? What's bringing you the clients? And they go, I don't know. And I was like, okay, well, if we stop one, I don't know, because if I stop that, maybe that's the one that's doing it. Because they're not measuring the stuff.
Right,
they can't stop the activity.
Analytics, right? Yes.
Yeah. So there's no, we're like, okay, let's stop doing one of those things. See if that's bringing you clients. If it isn't, let's not start it again, because you might not love. I had a call this morning with someone actually who said, I hate social media, I hate making posts. And I was like, is it bringing you any money? And she went, no. And I was like, you've answered your own question then. Why are you spending at that time of week making all these posts when it's not bringing you money? You don't love it and you don't have to keep doing it. She went, oh God, right, let's stop doing that then. Brilliant. And it's like, yeah, but you need that help and that support and that someone to validate again, to say, yeah, you can do it or you don't need to. And that really helps. But definitely a female thing is, because we've got all these plates, what's one more plate? I'm already doing.
It's also the trust, isn't it? We as business owners, we have to find the trust, somebody to help us and support us in business, and our clients are looking to us for the trust as well. It's just a trust. It's a linking thing, isn't it?
Really is. Yeah.
It's all about trust, letting go, because we coaches need coaches. We need a coach, right, to kick our ass and say, oi, what are you doing there? Stop doing that.
Definitely. Yeah, really true. I mean, I'll let you into a secret. I hate doing my own marketing. Absolutely, I know I tell people to do it, but it's really hard. And actually, there's a thing, I need to remember where I heard this phrase, but you can't read your own label from inside your own bottle. And it's like, because I can't tell you what I'm good at. Suddenly there's days where I sit and go, what have I got? What skills have I got? Well, I've got no experience. I'm rubbish at everything. And I can't see it because I can't see it from inside the bottle. My label is too blurred. It's back to front. I can't see it. Whereas you go, oh my God, she's got 20 years marketing experience. She does this. She's done this. Like, you can see a different me. And it's really hard for me to market myself. And actually, as a marketing expert, you think, oh, well, I should be able to get over it. No, so I have marketing now. I have to.
And again, I think I think you're right. But again, I think that's a thing of looking at being self-aware of what we are and tooting our own horn. We're not very good at that either, are we?
No, definitely not.
So we're not very good at talking about our problems, and we're not very good at tooting our own horns. And we've got two opposite ends of the spectrum and not good, right?
Yeah, really not good. And they really need to kind of get over, like you said, I think it's a Britishness. I'm in America at the minute. Love tooting around home, love talking about themselves, really good. And it's like, how can I, take some of that energy and excitement and enthusiasm and be less British about it? Because actually I'm not making anything up. It's all completely true, but it just feels painful to say it out loud. It's like, I'm good at what I do. I'm okay. I'm all right. But it's like, if I was American, hell yeah, I'd be standing on a corner shouting massive things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely possible. You've got to,
it's a culture thing, isn't it? Definitely a culture.
Really is. Yeah. Definitely.
So tell me, have you had to make any sacrifices along the way? Like, how did you decide what was worth letting go of and what was worth keeping?
Interesting, this question. I've been thinking about this because, like you said before, like the money's the big thing. Like, I'm not on a massive corporate salary anymore. Like, and you just think, oh my God, what am I going to do? But I did a lot of planning to make sure I could start a business, and I had lots of savings and I was ready, and I was going to say lucky then, but I'm going to stop myself because I plan these things. Like, I plan for, a future thing, and it's not luck. It's, I just happened to start a pension when I was 19. It's like, no, that's not luck. That's actual good decision making. So yeah, having a plan to be able to go, actually, I never wanted to start my business, but I was in a financial position to be like, I've got those savings, I'm good to go, got a good boyfriend, and actually I've just paid my mortgage off because I planned really well to make sure I could, financially support myself. So the money side is the biggest worry, and you're like, oh, okay, but like you said before, it's not about the money. It really isn't. So now I'm like, okay, it's a weird thing. I'm making a lot less money than I have, but I've got plans for more. But it's like, right, what decisions do I, what do I not want to do anymore? What sacrifices do I want to make? And it's like, that 9 to 5 grind and the things you should be doing, I don't want to do that. So, I was like, how do I step into a new world and do something completely different? And actually what I'm doing now is like, I couldn't have done this. I couldn't have moved to San Francisco for 3 months if I had a corporate job. Right. And now I'm making, I can make bigger changes and I can make bigger and better decisions because I've kind of sacrificed the route I should have gone down, I suppose, if that makes sense, in a weird kind of way. So it's like, right, what else can I do?
And I think the online coaching as well is, means that you've got that flexibility. Yeah, see, I just loved, as soon as everything went online, back in 2020, I was like, oh yeah, I'm up for this. This is the route to go. And I'd already started my business, and it was just like, okay, now I really know it's online and I know which way to go, and and it comes again with that, flexibility and freedom of travel.
It is, isn't it? People
you just take your laptop and go.
Yeah, and it's not restrictive. It opens up more things, actually. In my corporate job, I was traveling to 3 or 4 countries a week, like in my last corporate job. And then we got to the delightful COVID, and I was doing 8 Zoom calls a day with different countries, and it was like, oh, we can do more. And it was killing me. And I was like, actually, this is if you use it for good, it can be really free and really open. It's like, and we can talk, and we can be anywhere in the world. And I think that's the brilliant thing at the moment. It's like the flexibility and the openness. I think you need to judge and juggle, like we said before. You can't do this all day. You've got to need some personal interaction. So you've really got to balance it with like, right, okay, I can do so many calls, or I can do so many hours, or do many Zooms, but let's get out and meet people in the flesh. Because I used to think, I don't know about you, but the first few networking things I went to, you're like, I forgot how to introduce myself. I forgot how to connect with people in the room as well. It felt really strange. And you're like, I need to get back into that and not keep thinking that's a weird thing. So yeah, pushing yourself into that. I really think you've got to do a mixture of both.
Yeah, retreats, business masterminds, that kind of thing, in-person things. I did an in-person. Actually, the team I was working with, I online, and I met them online. And then when I actually met them in person, it was just like I'd met them anyway. It was just like, well, I feel like I've just known you anyway. It was no different, actually.
Yeah, it's a weird feeling of like, oh,
apart from the fact that we had lunch together, we had food together. It really wasn't any different.
Same,
right?
And it's not like meeting you for the first time. It's like, no, I definitely, because you still can have a connection. A lot of people say, oh, you can't do that through Zoom. And I was like, no, I don't believe that at all. I think you really need to, you can definitely do that.
Energy travels
Yeah,
through
massively.
whatever.
Yeah.
Massively through, you know, it doesn't have to be in person.
No.
You know, online is just as effective with anything to do with energy, coaching, mentoring, counselling, people with people. That's it, right?
Yeah. This is just the vehicle, whether I'm in a coffee shop with you, or I'm in somewhere else with you, or in a restaurant, or we're just in two little squares. Then that's it. They're just the vehicle. It's still, you've got to, but you have to put in the effort, and you have to put in that kind of excitement and that energy, and make sure you feel it. But yeah, you'd need to do that in person as well, definitely.
Right. So what are you most proud of accomplishing on your journey so far?
I suppose taking a leap and thinking about not necessarily the dreams I had, but, you know, taking action, doing the thing, you know, dwelling about something and thinking about it. It's like, right, let's go ahead and do it. I'm such a doer. You know, I didn't realize that until you start doing stuff. And it's like, yeah, I am a doer. So it's like, what can I go and do? Start my own business, which to a lot of people is scary. The first coach I talked to you about, I remember saying to her at the start, okay, so you must have loads of people then. And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, isn't this what it is? You work in corporate for years, you get really fed up, you start your own business. She went, no, most people work in corporate for years and carry on working in corporate. And I was like, oh, I thought that was the next logical step. And she was like, no, you've taken the action that a lot of people just sit and moan and dwell about. And I was like, oh, I thought that was normal. She was like, no, definitely not. I don't have enough people that want to do this. So yeah, taking any action. I think that's the real thing of like, just, I'm proud of myself for doing those things. And it's like, whether it's start your own business, whether it's move to another country, whether it's like I'm tweaking my niche and what I do. And it's like, yeah, what else can I do to, you know, take that proper action?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because we don't shout about, we don't toot our own horn enough, right? And what we've accomplished. I've written 2 books, and you know, and I've done certificates in lots of healing and energy healing, and I use all of them in some way or another, but we just don't talk about our accomplishments.
Yeah.
It's funny. One of the coaches I had, my main coach actually, Andrea Callanan, amazing coach. She made us do this part of like story work, and she made us write our own CVs.
Ooh, interesting.
And it was all about our accomplishments and what we'd done. And when you put everything down, when you write down, you can see exactly, you know, what you've.
It's impressive, isn't it? That my coach made me do a similar thing of write down your list of, it wasn't quite a CV, but it was a kind of list of accomplishments or achievements, or, you know, what are you good at? And I was like, stuck for ages. And actually, after it took a while, and it's quite a deep exercise. But after 2 pages, I was like, I'm quite good at this shit.
It's amazing when you actually sit down and you take stock of actually what you've done and what you've accomplished in your life, including, I mean, what you were at school. I mean, but the stuff that you did at school, and then the university, and any courses you've done, or the fact that you've written a book, or the fact that, you know, that you're a mother, or you're an auntie, or you're a, you know, you're a sister, whatever, you know. It's all incredible accomplishments, right?
Yeah. And there's people that can't do those things as well, or are still trying to do those things, or are wishing to start their own business or become a mum or do these things. You know, it's like, so you are the, you know, the inspiration for them as well. So, you know, why you don't talk about it, it's not the personal side of what I feel weird talking about my accomplishments. It's like, please try and do it to help other people. Like, you know, this is what this podcast is for as well. It's like, Jess, talk about your stuff and you can achieve that. You can leave the corporate world and set up a business and be totally happy and fly across the world and do whatever you want, because it is possible. Until you see other people doing that, you don't think you can do it as well. So I think that's the other thing, is like, you know, even if it feels horrible for you to talk about your own stuff, do it for someone else. Do it to inspire someone else to get, like, not look at me, aren't I brilliant, because that's very anti-British, but it's more of a look what else you can do if you just go take that motivation, take that leap, isn't it? Not the anti-Britishness. God no, we'll all burst into flames if we have to do that.
So tell me about staying motivated and inspired, right? Which we have to do. We've talked about already as an entrepreneur. We have to do that. So have you got any practical tips or techniques or things that you work with your clients, the ways that you keep motivated and inspired when you've got external pressures and expectations and, you know, life shit happens, right?
I wish I'd had the secret. I wish I could answer that really easily. I think like all of us were like, I'm just plodding along in my own stuff. But yeah, there's different things that work for different people. Definitely from a client perspective, I try and I didn't think the biggest thing my business would be focused around was accountability, because I'm talking to amazing, clever women doing brilliant marketing stuff, and they're just like, I'm doing all this stuff, and they're like, I'm like, I can't help you then, because you're actually doing everything. Actually, it's just like, what's the priority of those things and what's working? That's what I help them with. But you know, no one comes to me and goes, oh, how do I write a social post? It's like they're already doing these great things, you know. And that's what I love about it. What I do is, you know, and kind of what helps them and helps me is the accountability. So it's like, right, I am doing these things, but can we, you know, can I check in with you more? Is there anything else you can do? It's like, I will hold you account. And I had a client actually a few months ago said, if I didn't have a call with you, I wouldn't do this stuff. And I was like, yeah, you would. You totally would. And she was like, no, I have a call with you every Thursday. And if it wasn't for that, because I've got to report back to you and tell you, and because I don't want to tell you I failed, or I didn't do it, or I couldn't be asked, or whatever reason it is, then I do the stuff. So that accountability is the biggest thing that I actually use in my business. Not like how to write an email, what to do on a podcast, none of that stuff. They can do that, and I can finesse all of those things.
Right.
But it's the, have you done this by this time, and making it, and not even a timely thing, just a focus on your email list. Let's get some more people.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's about the action, isn't it? Taking the inspired action, but also trying to just do trying to walk before you can. Don't try and run before you can walk. You know,
there is definitely
try and focus on these little tasks and tick things off, because when you look at the big picture, sometimes it's overwhelming.
Too much, definitely. I do a talk actually in I'm in a networking group, and I do this talk about let's do less, but let's do it better. And people are like, oh, really? And I was like, because you're all doing all this brilliant marketing, but let's do it less and better. Like, let's talk to less people. And they're like, I'm not sure you're right with your marketing. I was like, no, but let's talk to the right people. Wouldn't you rather talk to 10 of your perfect ideal clients instead of 1,000 people on the internet who aren't really listening? But those 10 people are listening, and they're the right people. So let's talk to less people. Let's talk on less channels. Let's do less kind of messages and things like that, because we're just trying to, we think more is a sign of success. And that's the corporate world as well.
I've just done that, honestly, Charlie. This just happened to me, and I thought, you know, I'm the coach, so I'm still learning. We're all still learning, right? I was doing too much, and I was overwhelmed, and I knew it. I was, you know, my energy was scattered. I was just doing, and then I was like, I need to focus on something. I need to do something. Then I got sick, and I had a nasty flu virus in December, and then I was just getting better, and I was still like, okay, I'll go back to doing everything else. No, obviously the universe said, no, you're not listening, Beth. And that's when I slipped and broke my wrist. And I'm just like, okay. Then I had time, and I was like, okay, now I'm listening. I'm listening now.
I'm listening. Because if you don't stop, your body will stop you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
we are our business.
Absolutely.
And it really is, you've got to look after yourself. And if you think, you know, I'm going to work all the hours and do all the things, and like I said before, this is the hardest job I've ever had, but I've got to recognize where I put my energy and where I put my focus. Because if I stretch myself too thin, and I'm suddenly, the world will hit me, or my body will go, no, you need to stop, then my business has stopped. So you really got to think about that. So
is the juice worth the squeeze is an expression that I heard from somebody. I like it a lot. But it's about motivation and inspirations, inspiring yourself. And if you haven't got it, if there's no joy in it, then don't, you know, fine. So I've really sort of honed in exactly a few things that I'm just, the podcast is one, the membership is another, and then my 3-month program, they're all tied in together. And that's what I'm focusing on, instead of doing all these little bits, and, you know, like, I'm just driving myself crazy.
But you're still doing a lot. Like, you're running a podcast, you're doing a membership, you're doing these 3, like that's still a lot, you know. So I bet you could refine that even more. But it's like, when we go, you know, it really is a corporate hangover I've got. You know, you used to sit at your desk and someone would wander around and go, how are you? And your instant reaction is, oh, busy. And they go, oh yeah, that's good. You know, that's a sign of good.
Oh, that's a sign, isn't it, in corporate, right? When you're busy,
you're working hard or working well. But no one says, oh, how you doing? You go, do you know what? I've got all my stuff together. I've got plenty of time. I feel totally, you know, okay. If you said that to people, like, oh, you're not working hard enough. You're not exhausted.
You're not working well. More work.
She's actually okay. She's actually got her to-do list quite organised, and she'll be done for 5, and she'll be out the door. And he's like, No, and that's a sign of weakness. It's like too much is a good thing. And I'm really kind of, I never thought this at the time, but now I'm really echoing back my corporate days of like, they're not good measures of success. They're not good measures of how, you know, I want to run a business, how I want to do stuff. It's like, what are they core things I want to do and, you know, achieve them? And they're not tiny things. Like you just listed 3 brilliant things. It's like, I'm sure there's people out there going, God, if only I could do a podcast to one of the things that you're already doing. That's their inspiration. So now it's like, oh, and I'm doing 2 other things as well.
And I'm going to run a challenge as well, because I've just talked about this just before. I'm going to do a challenge, a 5-day challenge, and I'm in the process of sorting that out, 5-day challenge, so that I can inspire more women and bring them into the program and the membership, and they can listen to the podcast in any, just to be in my world in any way they want to be, right? So
but it's a lot, and I think you've just got to manage your lot and then really just take a look at it of like, right, what's working for me, what isn't, and then do less better is the talk that I do. It's just really helpful of like, and giving people permission to do that. And your less is not you know, not be like, oh, I'm going to wake up one day, do an hour's work and that's it. I mean, we're not talking mad influencer kind of tactics here that actually don't exist, but we're talking about, right, I'm going to do less that's like comfortable for me, that sets up my day, that I feel like I've achieved something. Because actually a lot of women I talk to, I was like, I bet you're busy, and they're like, yeah, you're doing all the stuff, what have you actually achieved today? Because being exhausted at the end of the day isn't a sign of achievement. It's like, couldn't tell you what I've done today, but I'm exhausted, and I'm, you know, and that's how you feel, isn't it? And whether it's corporate world or, you know, this world, you get to like 5, 6 o'clock, or I know I definitely look up and go, oh God, it's dark. What time is it? And because you're beavering away, and then you know, you go off and talk to someone, or what does your boyfriend say? What have you done today? And you're like, I couldn't tell you, but I've been dead busy. And you're like, oh, and that's not good as well. So really, like, be a sense of achievement that you can definitely feel you're controlling, not it's controlling you.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so talking about success then, and defining success, how do you define that? How do you define that in the context of your dreams and your goals? How do you define it?
It takes a while. I mean, I still feel I'm corporate brainwashed. It will take me a long, I mean, I did 20 years in corporate life, so, you know, success isn't just financial or metrics or figures, you know, that side of it. I think I was thinking about this actually. Success is being able to, for me, do my own thing. And I think that's it. When you set your own business up, you go like, oh my God, I can make all the decisions. It's amazing. And in the same breath, it's like, oh shit, I've got to make all the decisions. This is not amazing. Where's this come from? And it's horrible, isn't it? It's both sides of the coin of like how exciting it is, but also what decisions do I need to make? What am I supposed to do? How
empowering and how disempowering it is at the same time, right?
Really is, with the same breath, and that comes in waves of whether you're on the positive or the negative side of it. So I think managing that of like being really clear, and I think people say, oh, being really clear about what you want to do. I still don't know what I want to do. You know, I'm still measuring these things, but I think enjoying what you do and making sure that I'm trying to get this word rebranded, selfish. I want to be more selfish about stuff, and selfish.
I love it. Don't change it. Don't change that word. I love it.
But in a more positive way of like, I want to be more selfish of like the things I want to do, the things I want to achieve. I mean, I'm doing lots of traveling now. It's like, right, what else can I do? Where else can I go? How else can I change my business so it can be really flexible? So my success is based on how I feel about what I'm doing, enjoying the stuff I want to do as well. Really important. Like even to the point of picking the right clients. You don't have to say yes to every client. We now get to choose exactly who we work with. I sat for years next to a guy I didn't like in an office, and you're like, but I had to sit next to him. And now I'm like, I don't have to sit next to one who I don't like, because I get to choose that. So really think about, you know, you get to be so selective of who you work with, what you do, how you do stuff. And I think that finding out what's important for you and then building those measures into your success. So not saying yes to every client. You might need to say yes, but it's like, again, not about the money. It's like, actually, I'd rather say no to a client who I know is going to be painful or doesn't do the stuff or isn't, you know, doesn't turn up for calls on time, versus not thinking, oh, I've got a call with so and so today and I've got to type myself up ready to do it, instead of going, oh, I love working with that person. So really making out what works for you, I think, would be my kind of roundabout answer to that.
Right, that's good though, and I think that the more aligned you are with your business and the more joy it brings you in whatever program or session or however that, you know, workshop or however it works for you, the more aligned you are with what you're doing, the more you're aligned your clients are. You'll bring the right people to you anyway.
Yeah, But also test it as well, like you just said then, whether it's workshop or thing or stuff, like give it a go. I think as well, people go, oh, Beth started a podcast and she doesn't do it anymore after how many ever years, and you're like, yeah, because I now want to do something else. But just because you've started something and you don't like it, change it. Or if you've started something and you go, oh, actually I want to evolve that into something else. Or I mean, actually, a friend said to me a few months ago, I've just seen you on a podcast. I did another podcast, and I was like, oh yeah, I love it. She went, I worked with you for years. You hate public speaking. And I was like, actually, I worked out I didn't like public speaking when I didn't like the subject. When I liked the subject, so I used to get up in corporate and I just used to talk about the slide presentation behind me and the fridges or washing machines or whatever, the great topics I was talking about. Now, I love talking about female empowerment. I love talking about women businesses. I love talking about marketing, different thing of like, find out what works for you. I didn't think public speaking would be a thing, or going on podcasts or guesting or doing any kind of thing, but I love that more than anything. And I don't like doing loads of social media. So like, you're allowed to chop and change. Again, it's your business. So really, when you think about measures of success or what you like doing, don't be afraid to try something, give it a go and change it. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. No one is worried about it. You're you're most worried about it than anything else, but no one else is worried or cares.
I know. I pivoted lots of times when I first started my online business, and I just did that, and mine was a journey of discovery. Absolutely.
Totally. But yeah, don't be afraid to try something. I think would definitely be my advice to people of like, right, you might start going, oh, I'm going to do a 3-month program with my clients, and then go, actually, I don't want to work with people for 3 months, or oh, I can't get everything in 3 months, or I want to be a 30-day intensive. Just try it. Really don't worry about, oh, I've decided this, so I have to stick with it. Hell no, you don't have to.
Well, the clients give you the feedback, right? The clients give you the feedback on what works and what didn't. I did 3-month program, and it's changed slightly. It's still 3 months, but from the client feedback, it was I've honed it, and
you evolve it. And it is an evolution of a thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the podcast is slightly different. The first time I was just definitely interviewing women who'd left corporate. In fact, the podcast series 2 is still some women that have left corporate. But it's I've also got different types of women now, and women that have just taken a different route to follow their dreams.
And that's interesting, because you think it's changed, and it's changed because you're talking to different women. Your audience will go, I just love listening to Beth, so whoever she's interested in interviewing, I'm interested. Whereas actually we care more than our audience do. We go, oh, we've changed it, or we need to explain or pivot, or we need to say I've been off social media for 2 weeks and I'm sorry. But and no one actually notices that. I'm sorry to burst anyone's bubble, but no one cares or notices. People don't when you do something, they don't notice when you stop something. So if you've been off social media for 2 weeks and to reintroduce yourself, who cares? It's like,
I actually read something recently about social media being something that is maybe on the way out, because we're looking for bigger communities, and we're looking to build more more of a community. And this is what I'm doing on the podcast. So I'm actually really happy, and I'm just creating a membership program as well. So again, it's private for women to feel that they empower each other, and they can inspire each other, and uplift and talk about their wins, and do the
stuff.
Toot their own horn, and people will be going, yay, well done.
And they will as well. That's the other thing, is once you find your tribe and your group, that support and that uplift and that thing is just in abundance, and you're just like, wow, that's exactly what I wanted. But and your podcast is a snippet into that world, so that people might listen to a couple of episodes and be like, oh, I want to join that membership. That's exactly what I want, but I only get an hour a week of it, and how can I get more? And that's how your podcast springs into your membership. But that's the perfect thing. But you're right, social media, I tell a lot of my clients, it's sometimes a necessary evil, but it's not the only marketing you need to do.
It's not the be all and end all, is it?
Really not. And it isn't. It's more about advertising to the masses, right? That's what you want to do. But actually, if you want a connection with people, have a conversation, actually start an email list, because you're then invited into their inbox. And that's a really personal conversation. Blasting out posts on social media, you're just shouting into a void. Great for sometimes you need that for certain things, but email, I think, is definitely a better way of having conversations, networking, speaking. You know, there's so much. I had a woman a few weeks ago say she hates social media, and I was like, okay, well, let's see what else you can do. She went, what other marketing is there? And I think people are so just blinkered of like, it's the only marketing. You're just like, oh my God, I started marketing when social media didn't exist. So you're making me feel old. Thanks. But also, let's try look at other
We are the
things.
generation that had to learn technology. Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, my phone didn't have social media because it didn't exist. It's just like, yeah, these things. So yeah, and it was a real shock to her of like how we're all so brainwashed into thinking social media is the be all and end all. And actually, it's not. It's
I actually find it to be quite anti-social media. I find it. Sorry,
yeah,
my little cat Loki's decided to join us. Hello.
Hi. Hello.
He's
Yeah,
very intuitive. He likes to be in
Oh,
good conversations. He must like this conversation because he
nice.
doesn't
Got
always
good
join.
taste.
He doesn't
Good
always
taste, well
join.
done.
Yes. Yeah. So right. So let's finish with a
Don't say song.
well, no, I'm not going to. No, don't get me singing. No, that's my partner's thing. I don't do the singing. I'm not the singer in the house.
Oh, nice.
So what advice would you give to women who are just starting to pursue their dreams but might lack the confidence?
Number one, go for it. What's the worst that could happen? Like,
Yeah.
try it. Just give it a go. And it might be, yes, I want to do this thing. Well, what's the first step you need to get to do that big thing? I think as well, maybe rephrasing dream, because I think dream seems so aspirational and a thing that, you know, is so in the future or so big. It's like, okay, let's do a little goal. Let's do a goal by the end of the month. What do I want to achieve by the end of the month that leads to that dream, and still have that dream? And I know people write it on their mirror or put post-its on the screen and have that in your vision. But I think certain people like, because it sets you up to fail if you haven't achieved your dream by the end of the week or the end of the month, and you're like, oh, I'm not going to do it, and it puts you back and it stops you doing stuff. Whereas I think taking smaller steps to achieve that dream, so maybe it is leaving corporate world, great, right, what's the that's your big goal at the end, but how are you going to get there? Have you started a savings pot? Are you okay? You know, what are you thinking about if when your revenue doesn't come in like this, like it is normally when you haven't got your corporate salary? Like, have you got a backup plan? Not having a plan B, because I think you want to be really focused on what you want to do.
Yeah.
I think dream really puts people off of like, oh, if I haven't achieved my dream, then it's like, okay. Or also if you haven't got a dream, it's like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. What do I want to do? You know, and it might not be, I don't know exactly what it is, but make steps to make changes, I think would be my advice.
Make steps, small steps, and it could be a side hustle. It could be that just that something part-time that you do on the weekend, something that just follows something that you enjoy, that brings you some joy, fills your cup, right? That fills your cup. And breaking down the steps, I totally agree.
Because it's so much easier to then go, actually, by the end of next week, I want to have let's think of the finance side of it. I want to have a bit of a savings plan. Not I've got loads of savings by the end of next week. I want to have a savings plan of how much am I going to put away. And it's like, okay, by the end of that week, have I achieved that? Yeah, I've achieved that. I've got a savings plan. Oh, I feel a bit more. And that's when, again, the motivation and the confidence comes, because you've taken that action. And then you're starting on your way to, well, what am I going to do next? And my other advice is, and I get this a lot with women starting their own business, don't start on day one and make your own website. Honestly, you don't need a website for a while. You just need to talk to people. But starting going, right, I'm going to set my own business up, so I'm going to make a website, is sometimes the jump that people do. And you're like, you're going to have to change that website, because what you're doing is going to change. Your name's going to change, your logo, and you're going to cost you, spend money doing that. It's just like, don't jump straight into a website. Work out what you feel like doing, how you communicate yourself, what you're offering, and then work into that side of it. So a lot of people have to unpick a website that they've decided on day one, and you're like, start with the businesses. What's the idea and who do you want to help? I would say those are the things that you need to work out before you get into any technical details.
Very good. Yes, I 100% agree.
Yeah,
100% agree. Okay. Is there any other information that you'd like to give the audience today?
I mean, as you might have noticed, I love a chat, so I can happily come have a conversation about any marketing advice or anything. I would love to talk to any more women who are kind of further down the journey, probably 3 to 5 years in, who are really like, they've got all their ducks in a row. They might not feel like it, but actually they then suddenly looked up and went, I haven't got a strategy. I haven't really got a plan. I'm doing all the plate spinning, but I'm not sure where this is going. That's where I love to step in to go, you're doing a brilliant job. Let's take a few things off, but let's give you a plan of action that you need to take, and we'll make that next step. So love to talk to any women that want to have that conversation. My details will be in the the blurb at the bottom. And yeah, get in touch. That would be my next advice.
Yes, definitely you can get hold of Charlie. So a million thanks, Charlie, for joining me today. Thanks to our audience for hanging out with us. We hope you find it inspiring and empowering. And yes, watch this space for my 5-day challenge coming up. And of course, there's the Passionista Society, which is my membership. And if you'd like to be a guest speaker on this podcast, reach out to me. So until next time, this is Beth and Charlie. We are signing out.
Bye.